Thanks, Anirban, for taking time out to and talking to me at the Golfing Hub. Hope everyone is safe and doing well.
Yes, everyone's good here, Robin. Nice to talk to you.
How's the little one doing?
Little one is doing fabulous. She's keeping us on our toes, and really enjoying the time with her. Obviously, it's kind of been like a blessing all this time off, to spend with her. So yeah, it's been great.
So, festivities around the corner. What are your plans?
Festivities, I don't know about that. Yeah, I mean, I'm just enjoying playing golf right now. So all plans are kind of focused and centered around whatever tournaments I have in front of me.
Hmm.
Otherwise, it's life as usual. Just another household with another toddler running havoc.
So, how good or bad is the situation where you are currently?
In terms of the whole virus situation and panic and all that, I think America has kind of gotten over it to a large extent. And I say that in the sense that I have been here now 3 months, and except for a handful of golfers and one odd person here or there, I haven't heard of anyone who's come down with it, and none of them have been anything but very very mild cases. So in terms of the impact, I think it's negligible. It's probably less than a common flu or any other kind of viral going around town, so to speak. So in that sense, I think people are beginning to see that what, it's just it's like any other virus and you can deal with it. So I don't think it's probably as bad as maybe it was, in May or April, May, or even before that when America was getting hit really badly. And as far as travel and golf is concerned, we're getting tested twice a week. So we feel pretty safe and secure. The measures that the tour has taken are great. So yeah, I mean, it's life as usual, except for the fact that you're probably wearing masks most of the time when you're traveling and in public spaces. But other than that, everything is kind of normal.
Right. Well, in a way, and getting stuck in India proved to be a boon for you because I think by the time you went back, the worst was, I guess, over.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I think when things were really bad out here, we were in India, and then things started improving. And as soon as India opened up the borders, obviously I came back because I had to start playing again. And by then, I think the worst was over out here, and I think that second wave and the continuity of the pandemic has remained in India to a large extent, especially in some of the bigger cities. But again, I've been talking to some of my friends, and people are beginning to kind of live with it, get on with it, and understand that if you're at risk, you're at risk. But just the best way out is to practice good safety, communal personal safety, and also just have improve your immune system, because we're going to have to live in this world. You can't just shut doors and stay locked in. So yeah, I mean, in a way it was good. It was good for so many other reasons as well. So yeah, I mean, everything happens for a reason, I suppose. And at that time I was a little disappointed to miss out on so many events, but it's all orchestrated. So I'm just doing my bit.
Right. So going into a tournament week, rather, Anirban, what are the kind of protocols in place as far as precautions go?
Well, right now I think the protocols have relaxed quite a bit. I mean, if you had come here in June or July, I think the protocols were a lot more stringent. Right now, it's really quite simple. You have to test at home. There's a window in which you have to test before you leave. So you test at home, and you can only get on a flight once you have a negative result. And then when you land on site, you have to report to the testing center first, and then you get tested. And once your negative result comes back, you kind of get your COVID negative accreditation. Once you have your COVID negative accreditation, that's when you can go in and do your registration and do all the other things. So you can't access the clubhouse, you can't access any of the common areas until and unless you have that COVID negative, test result and the accreditation. And once you have that accreditation, you're allowed to enter the bubble. So even as of now, no wives, no family is allowed inside the bubble. So, even if, for instance, my wife Ipsa, if she wants to come and walk, she can't walk inside the ropes. She has no access to the clubhouse. So they're trying to maintain that as much as possible. But they're also trying to, take steps forward. Like we've just started doing pro-ams. And, as of, I think it was Sanderson Farms Week, there were 156 amateurs that were tested. And only after they were tested, they were allowed to play. There were no caddies. Everybody was given either, pole carts or golf carts. And so the tour is doing whatever they can to make sure that they, maintain the sanctity or the level of sterilization within the bubble. And, everything's quite simple. There's no buffets. You go there, you'll have a menu. They're all box packed lunches, great food. It's not like, it's not a bad situation at all. You're allowed 2 people, 3 people can sit at a table as long as it's big enough. Everything's spaced out. So yeah, I mean, like I said, it's about as normal as it can be. I mean, they're maintaining all the protocols. You can't enter the clubhouse without a mask. Once you're out in the open, of course, you don't need to keep it on. Caddies are still wiping down flag sticks and rakes and things like that. So all these things are still in place. Even something like, range balls, everybody has to go to one place and collect it. We're still not allowed to enter the manufacturing trucks. The manufacturing reps are still, not allowed full access. So a lot of things have changed, and I think it'll probably stay that way for the foreseeable future. But it's, like I said, it's a new normal, and it's not that, it's not so difficult to carry on with life and, business as usual. So people, I mean, that's the good thing about humans. We adapt and we move on, and we make the most of it.
Right. So getting back to golf, Anirban, what we spoke about, you spoke about putting band-aids to the cancer that had cropped in to your game. So this thought and the way you went about, rebooting your game. So was it kind of, was it something that you and Vijay sat down and talked about? Or was it that when you realized that this lockdown was going to go on for a long time, that is when you kind of decided, okay, let's go ahead?
No, not really. See, Robin, I came to India 2 weeks before the Indian Open. And the plan for me was to stay on for 3 weeks after the Indian Open as well. So there was already like this sort of 5-6 week program that we had decided on, before any of this went down. So it wasn't a case of, okay, we're in lockdown, we might as well do this. It was something that, I wanted to do for a while now. When I look at the way I have worked on my golf game, if I go back from 2000 and I'd say 5 or 4 when I moved to Bangalore, 2005 when I moved to Bangalore, all the way to 2015, those 10 years before I moved to America, there was a certain system that was in place with Vijay that, obviously it worked, because when I moved, I was not even a ranked amateur. So, we made that progress, and obviously we knew that there is a system and there is a methodology that at least that it clicks with me. And it's been 5 years since I've been able to do that. Obviously, I'm here in America, things change, you're playing a lot more, I'm not seeing him as much, and, I can't exactly get into the same routine. So that's why I had decided that, look, I'm not into Augusta, I'm not into RBC Heritage. Those were the 2 weeks, 3 weeks after the Indian Open. And I wasn't into the Players and I wasn't into Valspar. Those were the 2 weeks, off and before the Indian Open. So I said, look, I've got this 1 month window where I'm not really missing out on much. At the most, I may have to miss one event, which I think it was the Texas Open in San Antonio. I said, okay, one event I can miss if I can get 5 weeks of work in, and I can actually go back and kind of start fresh. Because every year we've done the same thing for those 10 years. We start with the fundamentals, go back all the way down to, grip, ball position, stance, alignment, posture. And believe it or not, at our level, 95% of our issues are that. I mean, anybody who's played pro golf for, 5-10 years knows how to swing a golf club. It's the little things that kind of go off, and then those little things trigger some other things, and then that basically snowballs into this massive problem or this other issue where you start thinking, oh, my biomechanics are off, or this is off, or the more complicated issues, so to speak. But 90% of the time it all stems from something fundamental. So for 10 years we did that, and I wasn't able to do it as thoroughly. We've tried to do that when we just come here for a couple of weeks or when I've gone. But it takes a certain amount of time, and you have to have the patience. So yeah, it was something that we had planned. Obviously, those things got kind of waylaid with COVID and the lockdown, but I'm glad I managed to get that time in after India started opening up.
Right. So after you got back, you had now what, 4 starts or 3 starts?
I've had 1 start, which was in the previous season, and 3 starts in the current season.
No,
yes,
after
so
you got back, after you got back to the US.
Yes, so I played the Wyndham Championship, which was the last regular season event of 1920, and I've played 3 starts in the 2021 season.
Yeah. So this was probably been your longest layoff in your career. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So how tough was it? I mean, anyway, you were playing the toughest tour in the world, and you've been away from golf for, say, close to 5-6 months. And then getting back and again getting thrown into the deep end of the pool, where week in, week out, you have to bring out your A game. How tough was it to adjust?
I don't think there was a difficulty in adjusting the mentality, because a lot of the time that I spent with Vijay sir and his students in Ahmedabad, we were doing a lot of simulations. We played a lot of tournaments within the academy. We had match play events, we had stroke play events, we had 2-day events, we had 4-day events, and multiple events. So, that's one of the things that he does really well, is that he understands that, if you just beat balls day in, day out for so many days, you're going to go brain dead. And you're not really making progress because you're doing that to accomplish something else. So, I was doing that, and I was playing, I would say, with the same focus and intensity that I would in a PGA Tour event on a number of occasions. So in terms of the mentality and in terms of the mindset, I don't think I was rusty. But where I was rusty was the conditions. Where I was rusty was getting back into the flow of, an actual tournament, because you're not staying at, your home, or you're not playing the same golf course that you've been playing for 2 months. Or, so those are the things that change, So my biggest, like, for instance, when I played Wyndham, which was my first event, my biggest issue was, oh, wow, these greens, I'm at sea, because I haven't played greens that are 13 and a half in a while. And that was the reason why, I didn't play 4 days, even though I played decent. One of the departments, or, a little bit of my short game, and they're all interconnected, was not on, not on par with where it needs to be. So I think the biggest adjustment for me was to kind of start tuning myself to the golf courses and the rhythm, the tournament rhythm. And that's where I was rusty, more than the mindset, or more than, I haven't, how am I going to get into this mindset where I need to shoot 6 or 7 or 10 under, or whatever I have to do. So in that sense, we covered those bases, at least while I was in India. But yeah, I mean, despite having played here for years and years and years, 5 months is a long time. And it sometimes, as much as we are used to adapting, it still takes a little bit of time. And I think that also kind of played a role. But it's been a little better since then, yeah.
You got a lot of time to introspect, recoup. So when you went back, knowing that you've kind of, taken a refresher course, if I can put it that way, you didn't start off too well at Wyndham. Then, the week of Corales, I mean, you spoke about how you felt that something good was in store. So when you went into that week, so how much of belief was there that yes, I can again pull it off, if not a win, but probably a top 5 or a top 10?
I think, Robin, before we get to Punta Cana or the Dominican, I have to rewind to about 3 or 4 weeks before that, because after Wyndham, I had a three week window.
Okay.
And in those 3 weeks, I got on a really rigorous, thorough program in the gym. I got on a very rigorous program, with how I was training myself mentally. And also, I had a mandate from Vijay as to how to, what I need to do technically. So there was 3 weeks of, really good work that I put in. And then when I went to California for the first event, which was Napa, Safeway Open, I was actually nervous on the first day because I had done so much prep work, and I was like, whoa, I was feeling butterflies that, okay, I feel really ready, I feel prepared. And it's been a while, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing to feel that, because it obviously means that you've put the right kind of work in. And I still remember after the first 9 holes in Napa, I found myself 3 over par for the tournament. And the golf course was playing really easy. That's another place where, the cut went insanely low. And on the back 9 on the first day, I played really well on the back 9, couldn't make a putt. I shot 1 under on the back 9. I finished 2 over for the day. And I looked at, how the scores were, and I knew I had to shoot 6, at least 6, if not more, just to make the weekend. And, to be honest with you, if you looked at from that moment in time, if I look back, it had probably been more than 18 months since I had shot anything lower than 68 on tour. But I just went to bed saying, I put in the work, I believe in myself, I'm just going to go out there and do what I know I can do. And the following day, I played really well. I stuck to my process. I stuck to all the things that we've been working on. And I missed actually a couple of short putts coming in, and I still shot 65. And I made the cut on the number. And then the following day, I shot another 67. And I actually went, I think, 49 of 50 holes without dropping a shot. And the thing is, if you look at the Dominican Republic in isolation, it doesn't do justice, because that is what I carried into Punta Cana, because I had 1 week between that event and Punta Cana. And I had a bad Sunday in California for whatever reason. I still shot under par, but the course was playing really easy. I finished somewhere in the 30s, but that confidence and that belief that I gained there, I knew that I was, getting back closer and closer to some of my better golf. I won't say my best golf just yet, but better golf. So going into Punta Cana, again, I had that same kind of belief, and I just went in there with that same kind of focus. And, I was really happy with the way I played, because I started about as nightmarishly as you could. And I was 4 over after 3 holes at the Dominican Republic. And I fought back from there, and I could have played better on Sunday. But that's what I'm saying. You can't look at it in isolation. So I'm like I said, I'm moving in a better direction. So I want to keep moving in that direction.
Right. So is it a norm with you that during a tournament week, you either ways, I mean, you have a good round or a bad round, do you reach out to Vijay and kind of exchange notes?
We do exchange notes, but it's usually post events. We'll usually do a call, or we'll obviously exchange messages. We have a system, but unless unless there's a fire that needs to be put out, which hopefully doesn't happen very often, I don't really reach out to him mid-event. It's usually Monday, Tuesday. I'll have a brief chat, or we'll exchange a few messages, and because it's he likes to keep it simple, and I don't like to have too many thoughts and think too much, because my whole golfing career, some of my wins and some of my best performances haven't exactly come when I've swung it beautifully. They've come when I've been swinging it average or okay, but I haven't really cared about the fact that I'm swinging it good or bad. I'm just playing golf, and I'm trying to get the ball in the hole. And I think that's what is actually more important in tournament golf rather than, am I hitting it great? Am I not hitting it great? So it doesn't really matter how good or how bad you're hitting it, beyond a certain extent. Obviously, if you're, missing the planet, then there's an issue. But if you're keeping it in play and if you're giving yourself enough looks at birdie and, taking advantage of some of the easier holes, then it all comes down to, how you apply yourself.
Well, two things that you're kind of synonymous with over the years is that pushing yourself to raise the bar all the time. And now that you have made it to the PGA Tour in almost into your sixth season there, how has your approach and your mentality changed?
It's definitely changed quite a bit, Robin. I think it's also probably got a lot to do with, I've now been a professional. Probably this is my 14th year now. 2007 September I turned pro. So I'm basically in my 14th year now as a professional, and a lot of things change. You learn a lot, especially for someone like me. I've been through a crazy number of ups and downs, and some very, very, big highs and some very, very low lows. And I know that. And I've learned a lot from that. And I think my attitude has also undergone a change where, I feel like I'm chasing less, and I'm chasing different things. I would have said, 5, 6, 7 years ago, I was trying to chase, world ranking points. I was trying to chase a PGA Tour card. I was trying to chase, things, results. And, what I've realized is that when I look back, a part of my introspection was that whenever I've played well, whenever I've, contended or won or been proud of the way I've played, it's not so much the chase, but what's gone into it. So, now my attitude is changing more towards the process, and what, and how enjoyable and satisfactory it is to actually put all that effort in, into doing that, into preparing yourself, into, readying yourself, into pushing yourself, and challenging yourself. And I think those are some of the things that I needed to rediscover, because after I came here, like you said, it's the hardest tour in the world by such a long way. It's not even funny. But there's so many things to chase. You're chasing FedEx Cup points. I was chasing President's Cup, positions. I was chasing playoff positions, chasing getting into majors. And somewhere down there, I got so result oriented that I kind of lost sight, and I lost the enjoyment of it. And that was the biggest learning for me, at least over the last few years, because it's when you've played at a certain level, you've achieved certain things, and you know that you can do it and you can go past. It almost has this dangerous effect of putting into a false sense of non-reality, where you're not dealing with what you need to do right now, which is basically the process, the preparation, the work that has to go into it. So that's what I've kind of slowly come back to. That's what I'm working. I'm probably working harder on my body, on my mind, and on my game now than I was, 3 years ago, even 6 years ago. And I don't say that in terms of just pure effort. I'm saying that also in terms of, a different kind of focus and a different kind of intent behind it. So yeah, a lot of things have changed, but I still enjoy playing the game. And I still, love pushing myself and seeing if I can go further and further. And I know I can. So I'm trying to explore every possibility and every area in which I can further myself.
What you just said, Anirban, I think that's quite natural, because when you're surrounded by the best of the best, I think that's the only way you view things. But what I sense is this, calming down, this maturing. Is it something to do about, getting married, settling down, now becoming a father? Has that also kind of played a role?
I mean, it's hard for me to say with clarity whether it has or not. I'm sure it has. Um, Again, these things are easier to comment on in hindsight. You ask me this question 5 years, 10 years from now, and I'll be able to say, yes, Robin, it was a lot, or yeah, a little bit, or not really. Right now, I'm still in that, process. I'm inside that phase. I haven't really gotten out of it that I can look back and, give you a definitive answer. But I think my nature has always been this way to begin with. Right from when I was a teenager, my nature has always been, I've always kind of not been very reactive, or whatever you want to term it, kind of measured and thoughtful sort of. But no, I think, just when you're in this environment, it's a very different environment. It's difficult to explain because I've played in every environment more or less, on every tour, on every continent. And this place is very different. It's a different kind of machinery where everything is performance driven, everything is results driven, and things have to be tangible, things have to be measurable. There is an obsession with stats, with numbers, swing speed, ball speed, strokes gained, strokes lost. Everything is numerical, everything is measurable. And when you're surrounded by an environment where people have a measuring scale ready, that, oh, your average time before you tee off is 1 hour 47 minutes before you reach the golf club. Really? There are stats for everything. And what happens is, for someone like me who's not very, I don't give a lot of importance. I do give you know some importance, but I don't overwhelm myself or judge myself or gauge myself necessarily with raw numbers. I always feel that they're kind of like a guideline, or they kind of help you, but they don't define you. But out here, they do. It's like everything is like, oh, you're defined by your average driving length, or your average this, or average that, or whatever. And that's not me. That's not who I am. So to a large extent, I found myself getting affected by that and becoming more like that, and getting more in my head and getting more analytical than I should be, and getting away from the things that have worked for me, and that help me play my best, which is for me to be more natural and be more connected to how I feel, instead of what I should feel like because the numbers say so, or because XY said. So those are also some of the factors that I've had to deal with, I've been affected by, and I've been able to look back and say, you know what, I'm not going to give any more credence to this than I need to, and I control how I use certain information. It's the age of TrackMan, where people are teaching people to not hit 3 down and 4 down, but how the hell do you do that, right? It's not they are just guiding factors. That's not a coaching device, it's a measurement device. But that's exactly the kind of environment and mentality and approach that is here. And I'm not saying it's good or bad, it just doesn't work for me. So I have to go back to what works for me.
So, as you said, everything has a measuring scale over here. Do you think that kind of affects the kind of fan following you have over there?
I don't really care, Robin. I don't even know if there is a fan following here. I think the amazing fact about being a golfer in India is that you maintain your anonymity and you can live a normal life, and I'm very grateful for that. So the less is more, like Vijay sir says. Straight is long. So for me, I really don't care. But I do know there's a lot of people out here that are really supportive. I know there's a lot of people who've kind of egged me on, through thick and thin, especially the last couple of years where I've played horrendously. So that's all that matters to me. I know that there's a lot of people who want me to do well and who care about, how I feel and my effort. And yeah, that makes me feel great. At the end of the day, I'm doing what I'm doing, because it makes me who I am. It allows me to be the best person that I am, both on and off the golf course. And I know it affects a lot of people positively, and that makes it even better. So I don't want to lose sight of why I do what I do. And if it has positive effects, and if it inspires kids or inspires others, or makes other people feel good, I mean, that's fantastic. And I'd be more than happy to do more of that going forward. But again, I have to stay true to why I do what I do, and stick to that. And the results have to be a byproduct. All the other good things are always byproducts. You don't really, you don't get to the PGA Tour to have fans. You don't get to the PGA Tour to have so many followers on Twitter or Instagram or whatever it is. That's at least that's not why or
Mm.
how I will ever get to the PGA Tour. Or I will ever win out here, or contend in a major or win a major. No, those are not things that you're thinking about when you have a putt to win. That, oh, if I make this putt, I'll have another 100,000 followers. I'm sorry. Those things are completely irrelevant. As much as I love my fans and I love the people who support me, that's a byproduct.
Of course, yes. Talking about numbers, Anirban, Bryson seems to be the flavor of the season. So,
Yeah.
what is your take on power hitting versus finesse?
Oh, well, I don't think it's a versus, really, Robin. I think that's where people have it wrong. At the end of the day, there are certain rules and there are certain regulations, whether be it golfing rules or equipment specifications, call it whatever you like, golf ball. I know there's been so much debate about equipment, golf ball, golf clubs. At the end of the day, within the same parameters, right? If somebody can do something with his body or with equipment that is within the rules of golf and get results like Bryson is able to get, I don't see what's wrong with that. I mean, right now, I love cricket. I've been watching the IPL. I know a lot of the golfers don't really love it, but I'm watching the IPL, and there's people who struggle to hit the ball far, and then there are guys who just keep hitting it onto the roads. Are you going to tell those guys, make your bat smaller or don't swing as hard? I mean, they've worked their ass off, pardon my language,
Mm-hmm.
to, be able to do those things. And Bryson has put the work in. And I've seen him, like I've known Bryson for a while, and he started this work 3 years ago. That's what people don't know.
Okay.
He started getting on this, this has been a plan. This has been a 3-year plan that is now coming together for Bryson. It's not something that everybody says, oh, last year in September, he said this and he did this. But this whole thing started 3 years ago. And that's something that some of us who know him know. Right. So it's very, personally, I feel like it's a major disadvantage for me unless I catch up in some way. Yes, definitely. But does that mean I should begrudge him for what he's doing? Absolutely not. When it comes to finesse, like I said, golf is a game where you got to get the ball in the hole. There have been enough, golf terminology, enough guerrilla golfers in the past. In fact, if you go to any golf club, you'll meet them. There'll be every golf club will have 5 amateurs who will hit it 340 yards, but they will not break 90. Right. So do you feel bad for those guys? You don't. At the end of the day, he's getting the ball in the hole, and he's not getting it in the hole with his driver. That's what people are missing the point. He's hitting shots out of the rough. Yes, he's hitting a wedge out of the rough, but he's still hitting a wedge. He's still making putts. He's still doing all those things that you need to do to win tournaments. And that's where it is baffling for me when people say, oh, he's a one-dimensional player. He's not. You can't win a US Open unless you have an amazing short game and really good putting skills and really good wedge play and all those things. So, as far as I look at it, he's put in the effort and he keeps it on the planet. Anybody who hits it long will tell you that is the hardest thing to do. If you hit it 5 degrees off and you hit it 260, you're still going to be on the fairway. If you hit it 5 degrees off and you fly it 340, you're not even in the trees, you're out of bounds. So for him to keep the margins tight is not easy. And Tiger has said this over and over again, because when he was hitting it forever, 15 years ago, he couldn't keep it on the planet. So he knows how hard it is. So when he sees Bryson fly at 340 and hit the fairway, he says, wow, you really figured it out. So you got to give him credit where it's due. So that's how I look at it.
Right. So, Anirban, at this level, the level at which you play, it's very normal to have a kind of a fairly large team working behind the scenes. I remember, 2010 built open the practice green of KGA. You finished your round, you were there. There's something that you said that kind of, that still stayed on. They said your coach is going to tell you a lot of things, but you're going to be smart enough to understand what works for you. Now that you have you have Vijay in India, you have a team in the US. Does that still work for you? I mean, you kind of filter what comes across.
Absolutely. I think you have to see, there's something that, again, Vijay told me, and I'll give you a great example of that. Is not myself, is someone like Chika, who's obviously a really close friend of mine. And he has, I think, one of the best golfing brains that I've seen. There's one thing being intelligent, and there's another thing, which is the golfing brain, which is understanding, course management. It is understanding, what are my strengths, understanding, what information to use, what not to use. And it's the same exact thing. You have to have a golfing brain and a golfing sense inside yourself, because there's so many ways to teach the same move or the same, now I'm talking from a technique point of view, right? There's so many ways to teach the same exact methodology, ideology, or swing technique. But all those, there might be 5 ways in which to say it, but your brain may not be able to process 3 of them, or it may process 1 of them way better than 4 of them or 2 of them. So it becomes a matter of, and this is something that, again, we've all been encouraged as his students to learn, is to experiment ourselves. So you experiment yourself, you experiment with A swing thought, you get rid of it. You experiment with B swing thought, C, D, E. And you're like, what, I was able to do it with C. Let me go back to that. And then you do that, and then you learn that, okay, when I think this way, I'm able to grasp it. That's one way of doing it. Then you go to a different, different instruction, or a different, a part of the golf swing, and suddenly it might be B, or it might be D, or it might be A. But the thing is, the more you do it, you start connecting these dots, where you then start saying, okay, I am a feel-based player, or I am a left brain, technical based player. Like you look at someone like Justin Rose, he can process instruction, he can process, methodical ways of swinging the golf club. He's very about positions, doing this, and, so he processes the golf swing in a completely different way. Tiger processes it in a completely different way. He's completely on the other side. He has so much feel, he has so much experience, and he has such amazing body awareness that with his body awareness, he can do things that a lot of people can't, because they don't have that body awareness. He might make a swing and know exactly at which point of time something broke down, and the golf ball might still look perfect, but he knows that there was that, 0.5% that was off, and he can use that body awareness to change it. And somebody else might be more video dependent. So the whole idea is, what kind of a golfer are you, right? How do you swing the club? How do you process your golf swing? And what kind of a golfing brain do you have? And there's no good or bad way to do it. There is no right or wrong, or, oh, this is a great brain, that is not it's not about that. It's about understanding what kind of a golfing brain you have. The earlier you understand it, the less time you're going to spend confused doing the wrong things. When I say the wrong things, the things itself aren't wrong, but you can't process them, or you can't really distill the information and make it usable as quickly or as efficiently as you may, having a different approach, right? So that is also a lot of this, because so Vijay might say, 4 things to me, which are all pointed towards me doing one thing. But then I might know that, okay, and I'll tell him, I said, sir, you know what, I want to do it this way, because if I do that, then I start making this. He'll be like, fine. That's the whole point. The whole point of me telling you all this is for you to experiment and figure out what strikes a chord, and then you hang on to that, and you use that, and you develop that, and you go from there. So that, yes, that has always remained with me throughout. I mean, not just with him, with everything that I do, whether I'm in the gym, whether even when I was studying or whenever I try and learn something, it's always there. It has to be there. Otherwise, your efficiency is going to go down a lot.
See, at this level, I mean, do you think working on the mind, or rather the role of a mental trainer, becomes very critical compared to probably when you were starting off playing the PGTI or the Asian Tour?
Well, I would actually say the opposite, in the sense that if you can find someone who communicates well with you and you're comfortable, and whose ideology you like, then the earlier you start, the better. It's not about doing it, that when I get to the PGA Tour, I'm going to get myself, I'm going to start working on my mind, because you won't get here unless you start working on your mind. Let me first tell you that, right? That's as important as any other aspect of your game. So, if you need to be strong physically, you need to have sound technically, you need to have good strategy, need to have a good golfing brain, you need to be able to handle pressure, you need to be able to travel, you need to be able to maintain your intensity and your love for what you do. These are all like so many different spokes in the same wheel. If one of these spokes is broken, you can't sustain being a professional golfer. So you can't really say that, I'll play one event. For one event, I am really zoned in. Then, second event, I'm not really. I'm sorry, you got to play 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks in a row. This is what you do. So, similarly, your mental aspect is a very important part of your training and your preparation. So the earlier you start training and the earlier you start, putting a structure or a process or a framework in place, the better. You don't want to do it once you reach a certain level, because it's going to take you a certain amount of time to develop that skill or that area. And you won't be able to afford that kind of time. You need to have that in place. You can't say that I'm going to get to the race and then I'm going to fix, the steering wheel or the oversteer or whatever. It has to be fixed before the race. Otherwise, you can't race.
Right.
So it has to start early. However you do it, whether it's a person, whether it's there's hundreds and hundreds and so many different ways to go about it. But it has to be there. You can't say that I'll do it later. It has to be there.
So, Anirban, when you look back on your journey, putting your golf bag on the scooty and driving to Eagleton, and where you are now, how does it feel?
Doesn't feel much different, to be honest, Robin. When I'm out there and I'm hitting a golf ball and I hit it thin, I still feel the same way. And when I hit it good, I still feel the same way. And I think that's the beauty of golf. It just does not matter, what's happened in between, because in that moment, that's what you're trying to do. You're still trying to master something. I'm very proud and very happy, and I look back very fondly. And I'd very happily go back in time and get back on that scooty and live that life all over again, because I was so happy. I was so completely, immersed in what I was doing. It was amazing. I don't look back and say, oh, those were hard days, or oh, this is so. I mean, that's just nonsense. So right. That was a part of my journey, and I wouldn't be here without having gone through that. Now, I'm not saying everybody has to go through that. Everybody has their own journey. Everybody has their own process. But the important part is the journey, and the important part is the process that you enjoy, that you completely immerse yourself in, that makes you, that inspires you, that motivates you, that drives you. It can come in any which way. Right. And if you don't have those aspects to your training, or you don't have those aspects to what you do, then it's very, very, very difficult to break through certain levels. You won't break through those higher levels unless you have those factors, and those factors have to be there. And sometimes I feel, I won't say sorry, but I feel for people who have a lot of comforts, because it becomes difficult.
True.
It becomes harder to have the intensity of those factors. You need those factors, in bucket loads. So unless you're wired that way to start, it becomes difficult to really push yourself and really motivate yourself. So yeah, to that extent, I was fortunate that, I was thrown into a situation where I had to challenge myself. And I think that's the only way that you're going to kind of break through certain levels, is if you really, really have to challenge yourself. So, I find myself here. From the outside, it looks hunky dory. But believe me, I have to really, really challenge myself where I am right now to push through the next level. It's a big challenge. And I feel the same motivation. I feel the same intensity. I feel the same, love and immersion in what I do. So I'm really happy, regardless of my environment, I'm happy with what I'm doing.
Right. So girls are normally, smarter than boys when they are growing up. So does your daughter understand that father is a pro golfer?
Uh, I think when I was playing in Dominican, my wife had the golf on TV, and when they showed me, she went dada dada. But then every other golfer on TV was also dada dada. So not yet. So, but yeah, I think she does. She does know, sort of know that, I go away and I do something, because now she's learned to tell my parents, "Where's dada? Oh, dada gone golf."
One.
So yeah, I guess she's learning to be a professional golfer's kid, getting used to not having daddy around for weeks at a time. And then I have to come back and work a little hard to kind of earn her affection and her comfort all over again. But it's fun. She is dangerously intelligent, like you said. So it'll be interesting times ahead. But it's so much fun. It's a lovely age right now. Yeah, so it's been great.
So we'll sign off, Anirban. But before that, now that you have a young, small daughter to bring up as well, will that kind of fashion your schedule in the coming times?
My schedule will be fashioned purely on my ability to get into events as of now, Robin. I wish my daughter had something to do with it, but unless I win an event, she won't have anything to do with it. So hopefully she has something to do with it sooner rather than later, because only then am I in charge of what I play and I don't play. Because where I find myself right now, I have to play whatever I get into, and play really well at that. So in a way, it's good. I have my back to the corner, and every time that's happened in the past, I've come out firing.
Yes.
So I'm in a good place, because there's only one place I can go, and I can only go forward.
True. So going forward, your goals for 2021?
Win. That's it. I have no other goals.
So your annual December visit to India is off this time?
No,
So you'll be making the trip.
I'm definitely coming.
Okay.
I'll be coming. I'll be spending time with Vijay. It'll be a purely work trip. Straight in, straight out. There's not going to be any time for me to catch up or socialize or do a lot of the other things. You want to travel as less as possible. At least internationally, it's still quite dangerous. And also, once I'm there, I'm there for a reason. I'm there for a purpose, and I'm just going to stick to that.
Right, Anirban, thank you very much for taking time out.
My pleasure.
Stay safe and happy Pujas.
Thank you. Yeah, you too.
Take care. Stay safe.
All right, Robin.
All the very best. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.